Yay! I'm saying hi to your replay viewers since we're waiting for Facebook to create an audience. I love that little thing that Facebook says. You're live. We're building you an audience. I love it. I love it. And I love the topic I'm going to talk about today deeply. Hi. Yay, Joanne. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of you. Say hi. I'm excited. It doesn't tell me who you are anymore. So if you say hi, then I know you're here. And I can say hi too. Unless you're one of those people that irritates. Don't say hi. I'll swipe left. Hi, Hollis. Big kisses. Left. Oh, so cool. Okay, very cool. Ah, this is cool. Facebook is always doing new things and different things and all of that. So I'm glad for any of you who stick around for this topic of, I don't face my fear. I'm afraid. Hi, Scott. And I do what I need to do anyways. So there's lots of things in my personal life right now that are really beautiful examples. Hi, Erin! Hi, Erin, I love you! I had a dream I drowned under a huge wave. Well, I'm glad it was just a dream. But I want to talk about that. You hear a lot about face your fears and like stare them down. And that's never really worked for me. And instead of doing that, like facing my fear and being like this, this badass, kick my fear in the face kind of experience, I have chosen to be afraid. Because if fear's here, it's here. And to do whatever it is I know I need to do anyway. And so I want to walk with you guys through the process, through what I do when I'm in the process of, first of all, discovering that I'm afraid of something, because I tend to kind of hide that from myself. I tend to ignore that I'm afraid. I mean, a really good example is that, not that I'm afraid, but this is such a classic metaphor for me in the last couple weeks. So I don't know, about an hour ago, I stepped on a piece of glass and I was like walking. I'm like, oh, it feels like there's a piece of glass in my foot. And I was like, no, there was no glass on the floor. No glass broke. There's no way. There's no glass in my foot. So I'm like walking around for like 10 minutes with glass in my foot and like trying to talk myself out of the fact that I had glass in my foot. So if we were to use that as a metaphor for fear, it's kind of my experience of fear too. It's like, oh, is that fear? No, that can't be fear. That's nothing to be afraid of. And I like try to talk myself out of it, right? So the first step for me is becoming really aware of, what I'm feeling is fear and anxiety. And it was such a low grade fear, anxiety, that I was like kind of like swatting it away. Like, I just want to say hi to everybody who's here. It doesn't 100% show me who you guys are, but I'm just so happy that you are here and that you've joined me for this conversation. So the first step is just admitting to myself, oh, there's fear here. There's anxiety here. This thing, whatever, hi Adam, is scaring me. And what I've noticed about fear and anxiety is that it feels really shitty in my body. It feels kind of like I'm being choked. I'm like on the brink of tears but can't cry. And it feels like avoiding, like pushing away. Hi, Jessie. And so the first thing that I do, I just become very clear. Oh, there's fear here. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of this. This is why it feels like I'm backpedaling. I'm like trying to flick it away like it's a cockroach, and I don't want to touch it, and I don't want to look at it. And so it feels like a whip or a vine going through mine. Yeah. So it's really interesting how the body speaks. So when I establish there's fear there, and sometimes that can take, that in and of itself is a big piece. Like I'm like finally acknowledging to myself that I'm afraid. And I'm anxious. that's already a big part of the step. You're just like, hi, Catherine. Just the permission of recognizing there's fear here and I don't have to fight it anymore. And I don't have to pretend to myself that there's not anxiety about this topic or whatever it is. And I'll get into specifics in a second. But that's the first thing, is to just allow myself to be afraid. Like, not trying to get away from it, not telling myself I'm an idiot, not telling myself I should know better, but just like, oh, I'm afraid. Okay. Huh. Now I know that that's what that weird, strange ass strangulation feeling in my body is I've been afraid. I'm having anxiety. I'm not speaking my truth somewhere, or I'm not following my truth, or I've fallen off a horse in a certain way. So let's get to it. I'm going to share like some really personal stuff and how I'm walking it out. My husband kayaks too, Joanne. I'm afraid of fear. Yes. Oh, yes. Because fear just feels like shit. Fear feels scary. I mean, it seems like that's a no-brainer, but it is like that. It's like the willingness to feel the fear gives me the permission to like relax into the fear. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm afraid. Hi, Rosanna. I'm afraid. Okay. I'm afraid. And just like that, admitting, that permission of, here it is. This is what this really horrible, ugly, icky feeling is. And I want to be really clear about, like, there's things that I don't want to do, and so I don't do them, right? There's a difference between something I don't want to do and something that I'm afraid of that I need to do for myself, right? To free myself, to liberate myself. So I'll give you an example. There's one thing I have like the tiniest, we'll say it's like 0.0011 whatever on the Richter scale of bodily things that I'm kind of afraid of, I'm kind of afraid of it. I'm not terrified, but like I'm kind of dancing on the line of being like, and that is to like let all my body hair grow out. That makes me really nervous when I think about that. Like my underarm hair, my bikini line, my leg hair, just to let it all grow out. There's like level 0.000 point of like kind of a fear and anxiety around that. And I can look at that and dance with it. And I'm like, nah, I'm not at a point where I want to walk. Hi, Richard, where I want to walk down that road. So that's like something, it's not detrimental to my life or to my everyday existence, but it's one of those things that I'm kind of anxious about. But I don't have to face that fear or walk with that fear or whatever. It's just like something I notice that it kind of like tickles at me. Like, what would it be like if I did that? It's more of a curiosity, but it's not something that I don't want to do it. It's not affecting my health, my well-being, and the other things I'm going to talk about today were absolutely affecting my health. And once I found out that, this is what I'm afraid of, and it's not that I like found out, like I knew about it, but I was finally giving myself full permission to be like, I am afraid and I am anxious about this, and admit it to myself. So once I admitted it to myself and I was like, I'm afraid and I'm terrified, and I feel that, it's like I know that I have to walk with it, that I'm afraid and I'm going to do it anyway. And it's something that I have to do. Hi, Robin. Because I can feel the freedom in it. I have to do it. I have to walk with this fear, and I have to walk in the direction, hi, Emily, of the fear that I'm experiencing. So let's see, there's two that are really, really, really prevalent for me right now. The first one is I had kind of fallen into a little of a depression, which is what I call denying my fear and my anxiety. That's what it felt like. Things were feeling stagnant because I was judging myself intensely for the way that I facilitated a group. Hi, Jenny. Last year, this year that is going to be over. And I was really feeling like I didn't have any business facilitating groups, like I'm just fucked up. I had all this like mind chatter about how it, okay, I'm going to tap into it and like, who the fuck do you think you are to do this? You did it all wrong. You can never do anything right. This work matters, but you don't. you're a mess. You know, all these kinds of thinking that was going on. And when I felt the fear, it's when I recognized the thinking. I'm like, oh, there's this thinking going on that's telling me I'm not good enough. And so I turned to that thinking and I said, okay, thank you, Adam. Thank you so much. And I know that now that I've admitted my fear. But the fear was there. And I literally, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I made the decision not to do group work in 2017. Hi, Kimberly. And I'm going to be doing group work in 2017 because I'm going to walk with the fear of being a failure again. Not that I was a failure, you guys. Like, this is just stuff that was going on inside of me, because one of my emotional patterns is debilitating self-doubt. It's one of my emotional patterns that I'm walking out. And so this is how I'm walking it out. Thank you. I'm so glad. Thank you, you guys. No. The group has nothing to do with this, Joanne. This is full on mine. I own it 100%. Hi, Shane. So debilitating self-doubt, that's what I'm walking out. So part of debilitating self-doubt is fear, is the fear of getting back up. If I felt I thought I'd fallen on my face, right? And so because I have the emotional pattern of the self-doubt, if I think I fell on my face, then I just I start doubting myself on everything. And I'm not just talking about that. I mean, I doubt myself when I go to buy shit at the grocery store. Like, it's insane. So when I felt the fear, I was like, oh, I'm afraid to do group work again. And immediately when I recognized the mechanism, I'm like, okay, I have to do group work again. Because it's the only way that I can hold my fear and say, fear, look, I know that we're afraid. I know we're afraid. And I'm going to launch another group. Whether I sell it or not, I want you to know that I don't believe you. I don't believe you, and it's okay that you're here. Because emotions cannot be intellectualized away. So they have to be welcomed. That you can't mental masturbate your emotional experience away. So if fear is here, fear is here. You can't run from it. You can't face it. You can simply walk with it. And what I have noticed in my life is when I walk with the fear into it, it kind of goes away. So I can give you a really clear example. When I was 17, I was in a motorcycle accident with my boyfriend at the time, and was in the hospital and had all broken things and stuff. And about 6 weeks later, I was back on the motorcycle with the same boyfriend on what was literally the scariest thing I had ever done, like, in my body. My body was freaking out. Like, I was scared out of my mind. But I lived. I lived to tell the tale. And I just knew from that moment on that I had to walk with the fear. Not ignore the fear, not pretend like it wasn't there, not look it in the face and say, fuck you, fear, but be like, oh, hi, fear, let's go for a ride. Let's go for a ride. Let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens. Let's do it. And so decided to do group work, and I feel really good. So this is what happened. When I met the fear, there was already a relaxation in my body. But ever since I've made the concrete decision to go forward with doing another group work, my body has relaxed and I have way more energy. My mind is quieter. I'm moving more fluid in my life. Thank you, Jenny. I have to say the same for all of you guys. Like, you guys are my magic. And I'm getting ready. It's like I feel like I fell out of the saddle and I'm getting back in the saddle, and I have to get back in the saddle because the work does matter. And what my fear says, my fear can't win. You know, fear is just a friend of mine. It's not the driver. It's not in the driving seat. It's just here to visit. So my body has relaxed. So every time I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do another group? Like, at the mind chatter starts, I can feel in my body there's like a relaxation. Like, the fear is still kind of there. There's a little tiny bit of anxiety, but it's nothing like it was before. Now that I've decided to walk in this direction and be like, I'm going to do this thing that I'm afraid of. There's just been a lot of relief in my body. Simultaneously to this, I don't know that fear is lying, because, let me think. I truly believe that all emotions are honest. And so I will never say that my emotions are lying. And What fear is doing is it's trying to protect me because I felt hurt. I felt like I fell on my face. And so fear comes in and says, okay, I'll take care of you. I'll make sure you don't fall on your face again. So it's coming from a very honest and loving place. Hi, Tim. And then, so I got this, the energy in my body relaxed, and I had more energy, and so much energy that I've like mapped out the entire group journey. The price point, the dates, the everything, and doing all kinds of things I've never done. It's going to be epic. It's exciting. And then once that layer of fear and anxiety was worked through, another layer showed up. It's been showing up for about 3 days, in that I knew that there was something that I needed to make a decision on that was in my truth. And it felt really, really fierce, but it felt absolutely terrifying. I am talking every time that I would sit down and think about it, my heart would race, and I was talking to my team, which is my husband and my business manager, and every time we talked about it, there was like contraction around it, and I just felt gross. I felt like I had a lot of reasons in my head, like why I felt the way I did. Again, trying to reason myself out of it. And then this very morning today, the decision landed deep inside of me. It was like, this is the decision. This is what you have to do. And it was like, boom. And I was like, holy shit. So I'm like sweating in my armpits, sweating in my crotch. I'm sweating everywhere as I'm writing the email with the decision that I had made in it. And my heart was racing. And then the email is finished. We wound up having like a big meeting. The email's finished. And I look at my business manager and I take a deep breath and I wait for a second. And with all of the information, with the email written out, with the decision made, not yet having hit send, the fear goes down from fear to just a little bit of nervousness. And I tap into and fall into and really allow nervousness to be in my body. And I'm like, what is it about? What am I worried for? Who am I, and all these things. Bye, Scott. And then as I felt through the anxiety, something in my body just released, and it was silent. It was silent. I had been afraid to make this decision for quite a long time. The clarity came that I'm afraid of this decision. The clarity came that I have to make this decision for my own well-being, for no other reason. I could come up with many excuses and reasons, but the truth is my well-being was on the table. And as soon as I made contact with the fear, walked through the fear, wrote the email, sat down, looked at the email, felt the nervousness, all of a sudden it was like it all popped. And I was like, wow. And I looked at her and I said, okay, send it. And I sent the email sent off. And I was like, holy crap. All that anxiety that was inside of my chest was gone. All of the fear of how I was going to be judged or what people were going to think or the collateral damage of the decision or all of that. It was like my mind went silent. Like all the mind chatter, all the emotion in my body just relaxed. And throughout the rest of the morning, it felt like I had like 50 cups of coffee. That is how much energy I was withholding in my body by not admitting I was afraid and not making that decision out of fear. Out of fear that it's the wrong decision, out of fear that it was going to hurt people. There was so much energy crushed into my body because the emotions live in my body. Emotions live in our body. They don't live here. They don't live between me and you. They don't live in the space over here. They're inside the body. And it was like I had trapped it in there. And so by going through it, all of a sudden I had energy. I was running around. I was dancing. I was giggling. And it's been a long time. And a long time to me is 3 days, people. So don't feel bad for me. But just to be clear, I'm not months of suffering or anything like that. But that's how I know that I've made the right choice, by walking with the fear, being afraid and doing what I know I need to do anyway. Because once I've done it, my body relaxes. So as the day has gone by and I haven't gotten an answer to my email, you know, the mind chatter comes up as like, blah, blah, and it's like freaking out and you did this wrong, whatever. And what's really great about that I did the emotional walkthrough, that I didn't do a mental walkthrough, I did an emotional walkthrough, is that as the mental construct, blah, I'm like, I just keep going like inside my body, and my body is calm, and my body is clear, and my body, and by body I mean my emotions are calm and feel at home and at peace and are literally ready for whatever the outcome is. Where my mind is freaking out and it wants answers and it wants to risk manage. My body's like, we're at peace. This is where you need to be. You have taken care of yourself. This is the right step. And so if I just listen to my body, I'm at peace. So, first thing is admitting I'm afraid and feeling the fear, which turns into nervousness, curiosity sometimes, and then doing that thing that I was afraid to do. Doing it. As I do that thing that I was afraid to do, it's like, it's not giving the finger to my fear. It's not telling my fear to fuck off. It's not like, there is a little bit of rebellious in me, like, you know what, watch this. I just want to show you that you don't have to be afraid. It's the same thing when one of my children is afraid to jump like off the diving board or into the pool or something like that. And you're like, come on, you can do it. I know you can. When you jump in, it's going to be great. So it's more like that. That's the relationship I have with that fear. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes I really am shaking in my boots and crying and sweating in every crack and crevice of my body as I take that step to do what I am afraid to do. Because it's intense. And then once I've done what I know that I needed to do, my body relaxes. It's like I just walked fear out. It's like I took fear by the hand. I said, come on, let's go for a walk. Let's walk this pattern out together. Let's feel you. Let's not deny you or avoid you or pretend like you're not there. Let's be here in this together. Like, so if anything, I walk into the fear, but holding it. You know, like fear's not running me, and I'm not really running fear. We're kind of in it together. There's just space for it. And I'm really enjoying the freedom I have in my body right now. Like after these two major things in the last 2 days, it's like this energy that I forgot. I forgot that I live in this like super energetic space. It's like hi, Jay. It's like I missed myself, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know I was missing me until like here I am. I'm like, oh, I've missed you. Hi, Erin. And I'm picking up my pieces every day. You don't have to punch your fear in the face. You don't have, and it's okay to be afraid of fear. Isn't that funny? It's totally fine. Whatever you're feeling, it's okay. It's so okay. All the emotions are amazing. I'm gonna open up if anyone has any questions, and I want to let you guys in on an offer that I'm having. I think it's somewhere above the video. That I will be doing emotional alchemy breakout sessions via Zoom every third Saturday in 2017, and they're 3-hour workshops, limited to 50 people. They're $112 for each workshop. They are from 4 to 7 p.m. Swiss time. And they're not recorded. They're as if you were to walk into my living room and we were to have a conversation. We're that present with each other. And I will talk on a topic or a theme for about 45 minutes to an hour. And there will be 2 hours of open floor for questions and answers and explorations face to face. And I'm super excited about it. And there's a link to get on a list for when I have a payment button available, which should be soon. So I just want to tell you guys all about that. You're welcome, Adam. Thank you. And now, if anybody has any questions or explorations around fear, I would love to have that conversation. And I hope that I didn't like just do something because I touched the screen. Just any questions around fear? Fear or coming home to myself is probably the best thing ever. And coming home to allowing the fear to be here, not denying it, not being a badass and trying to, face it down or ignore it or belief system myself out of it. I had a conversation today with somebody who was like, yeah, well, you're always going to pull the emotional card. And I was like, yep, I am. Because right there in that statement, there's like this invalidation of feelings. Hi, Sophia. Of emotions. And every emotion is valid. Every emotion has a place and a message and an internal massage and a freedom to it. And I find that so long as I'm willing to feel it and let it be here and walk with it, they're really, really powerful. Like, I wouldn't have done another group. I mean, I don't know, but I wouldn't have done another group in 2017 if I hadn't felt my fear. Like, that's magical. I would not, the decision that I made today, that I sent that email out with, is life-changing for me and gives me so much space and so much more energy. And I wouldn't have had this opportunity without the fear. Is walking through anger the same as walking through fear? Walking through any emotion is relatively, hi Allison, the same process. The way out is through. Yes, Ida. Yes, that is my lived experience. I take that as a truth in my own experiences. Let me go through this. Let me go through this. Let me not try to get rid of it. Let me try not to fix it. Let me not wish it away, but just be here it is. Any emotion that causes contraction in the body. Yeah, well, you can also walk out joy or happiness or bliss. I think that's the ground of everything, like this happiness, although it's overrated, right? Love, gratitude is the foundation. I think this is a really good, working on accepting fear. Yeah, dude, because the reason we don't accept fear is because we've been given messages like, don't be a pussy. Keep a stiff upper lip. Don't be pathetic. Don't be weak. Don't show any kind of, pain point. Emotions, they want to do the emotional bypass. Yeah, and the funny thing is you cannot bypass emotions. You can mentally and spiritually and even physically bypass shit. You cannot bypass emotions. It's not possible. Hi, Jessie. It's not possible. So the reason that we have such a hard time feeling fear is that we've been made, either through ourselves or through others, indoctrinated into this idea that being afraid is a weakness. That being afraid is bad. That showing your fear is pathetic. I have a really beautiful story about this. So, one of my children was terrified of lots of things as a child when she was younger. Terrified, like it hailed outside, and she would curl up in a corner, like with her hands in her mouth and freak out. And we did the typical thing before I knew what I know about emotions now. And it was, it's okay, Ayla, you don't need to be afraid. Look, we're all here. It's no big deal. Relax. Because we were uncomfortable with her fear. And so we wanted to make it better. We wanted to fix it because I'm going to talk for myself. I wanted to fix it and I wanted to make it better so that I wouldn't have to deal with the fear that I was seeing in her face. And as I started to journey into emotional alchemy in a really deep way, I recognized at one point that I was afraid. And I was like, can you talk yourself out of being afraid? And I realized that I couldn't. And I realized that in that moment, if someone had told me, don't be afraid, don't be silly, that I would have felt like punching them in the face because I could not be afraid in that moment. Fear was there. I could not talk myself out of the fear. And so when I recognized it was such a big thing for me, And so the next time, and I remember it was a really big hailstorm outside, the next time that my daughter went into like this panic and this fear, I just sat down next to her. I didn't touch her. And she's like, I'm so scared. And I'm like, of course you are. It's okay. It's okay to be afraid. I'm right here. It's okay. And the relief that she had for not having to try to not be afraid when she was afraid taught me everything I needed to know about fear. Everything. Because over the course of another year, she stopped having the panic attacks and the fear. Every time she had one, we'd sit down. I'd say, it's okay to be afraid. I'm afraid. Of course you are. It's okay. It's okay to be afraid. Permission. Not fixing, not trying to make it go away. And the more permission you give yourself to feel your fear, the more you can sit with somebody else who's in fear, or anger, or upset, or whatever, or joy even. It's funny and hilarious to me how many people are uncomfortable with pure joy and happiness from an adult. It's like from children, it's acceptable. But if an adult is childlike and running around and being just joyful and amazing, how uncomfortable that can make people. It's not just the negative emotions, which I don't believe there are negative emotions, but the ones that we connotate as negative emotions that we're uncomfortable with. We're uncomfortable with the good shit too. The magic happens simply by feeling it and being with it. Yeah, that's how the alchemy happens. And the thing with emotions is they need time, and they need space, and they need your attention and your presence. They're not something that needs 2 seconds of a pat on the head. It requires you fully to be present to yourself, to your life, to put yourself first, to let yourself know that you matter, because you do. And that's the beauty of emotions, is they're calling you to be right here, right now, with whatever is arising inside of you. They're like the juice. They're the real juice of life. That fear that I was pushing down, as I pushed it down, as I avoided the anxiety and the fear that I was feeling, I was heading towards a depression. And depression is not an emotion. It's a conglomerate of suppressed emotions. So depression itself is not an emotion. It's a conglomerate of emotions that are being pushed down, denied, suppressed. So because I was doing that, I was heading into like a depression where like life started to feel less than stellar. I live life in pretty much a technicolor kind of life, and my life started to feel like sepia. That's what depression feels like. It became sepia. And so when I acknowledged the fear and the anxiety and I walked them out, meaning that I felt them in my body and I made full body contact with them, depression left. They moved through me. They're not here right now. They may come again, because that's the nature of emotions. Come and go like popcorn. Here they are, right? And the more I give myself to this moment, the more I give myself to the emotions, the more freedom I experience. Live through truly scary stuff, and fear is normalized. Oh, wait, go back. It would be hard for me to identify the source of fear that's worth walking out. What I would offer you there, Kimberly, because this is all that's coming up through me, and if it's like total crap, just throw it in the trash. But what I feel from your question is, let yourself stop normalizing fear. Don't normalize fear to you. Embrace it and be with it and see what it has to show you. Don't allow yourself to normalize it or make it okay. Don't invalidate your fear. Let that be you who doesn't do that anymore. Don't invalidate your fear. Just be with it, hug it, hold it. And if you're afraid of it, if you're afraid of your fear, it's okay. It really is okay. But if you can be the one that no longer invalidates when you're afraid, and you're willing to walk it out even if it doesn't make sense. I mean, in my mind, the decision I had to make today, there was a whole lot of mental stuff that made sense. But the thing that made the decision was how I felt in my body, which isn't inexplainable. but I refuse to invalidate my emotional experience. My emotional experience is my biggest information center. It's my greatest intelligence. Does that make sense? Oh, okay, there you are. Good. Because it's like the guy I was talking to today who's like, yeah, you're always going to pull the emotional card. That was an invalidation of the conversation we were having, and it was around sadness and blame, shame, and guilt. And I was like, I'm not going to stand for that. You can invalidate emotions if you want to, but I'm not going to be a part of that. I'm not going to be part of invalidating. And every time my daughter was scared, and I told her, don't be scared, everything's fine, I completely invalidated her experience. I feel sad. Okay, yeah, you do. Let's sit with sad. I feel overwhelmed. I feel hopeless. I feel, like I said, I feel joyful. I feel excited. I feel curious. I want to go around and lick everybody. That excitement. It's also can be very uncomfortable for others who think you should be more appropriate, whatever appropriate means. That's the thing about emotions, though. They're wild and they're free and they cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be reasoned with. They can only be felt. And they can be felt with your body. And that is true embodiment. Being fully in your body is being fully hand in hand with my emotions and not invalidating them anymore. Really seeing that they are the magic. They're the things that allow me to feel alive, connected, in love. They allow me to taste chocolate and to see you, to touch you if you were here, to hug you, to smell you. They're the things that tell me I'm alive. As soon as I started suppressing my fear and my anxiety, and it was becoming like a depression, I started to die to myself. I started to become a fragmented version of myself. And as soon as I was like, what's here? Let's get slow enough. Let's sit down. Let's walk this out. Hi, Dolores. I woke up. I became alive again. I feel my life returned to Technicolor. Sepia went away. This is where the juice is. Feeling it, allowing it to be here. Understanding that I don't have to suppress my emotions to be normal or to be appropriate or to be an adult. That's what I was trying to do. By not making that decision that I just made today, I was trying to be an adult. No, I'd rather just be a little kid who's like, fuck that shit, don't feel good, I'm done. That is exactly what my decision was based on. Thank you, Dolores. I'm so glad that you're here. I love doing these videos. And that's why I created the breakout sessions, because I wanted to get really more personal, where we are face to face on video and we can do this thing once a month and really be in a room together, in a Zoom room. I love it. So the little linky thing is, I think, up there somewhere. I think I did it right. I'm no genius, but I've got now a little team that totally helps me, and that's been amazing too in not lying about how I feel. This morning, my husband and I were laying in bed, and I was so sad, and I was so distracted. This is before I made my decisions that I've just told you about. I was so sad. I didn't feel alive. My body just felt like this, thing that did this. That was how my body felt. And, I didn't feel all the love. Are you kidding? This is the great thing. This is crazy. This is what fear does too. It's because I was afraid and I was having self-doubt, I forgot all the love, right? That's what happens in depression. That's what happens when you don't feel your emotions. You forget that, and it all stemmed out of thinking I had made a really bad decision, or 2 or 3 in the last couple months. So that was the root thing of it. So I made some bad decisions, or it was the story that I said. And I did a video about this yesterday or the day before, about how it was oh my gosh, I'm telling myself, and let's just say that I did make the shittiest decision ever on the whole universe of the planet. How many more good decisions have I made? And only once I felt the fear and the anxiety, could I open myself back up to love, to feeling the love that is here for me all the time, both from you guys and from inside of me. My job didn't allow for fear to be acknowledged. I learned how to repress fear, not to affect my performance. Now to feel, I struggle with my learned responses. Fear, not me. Oh, just take just take tiny steps, Shane. It doesn't have to be a big leap. Tiny little steps. Just be like, oh, hi, fear. You can look at it like out of the corner of your eye. You know, you can just like, I know you're there. Hi. It can be really, really slow. It can be really, really gentle. It can also be really brutal. I'm not going to lie to you guys. If you've been repressing something for a long time and you finally allow it to like rise up to your awareness, it can be really tense. It can be really intense. It can be really painful. In my life, in my experience, it's 100% worth it. It's worth it to be free. Like, I think I just born out. Is that the right word? My tagline for the new website is playfully serious about being free. And I'm scared to death to start a new business. What ifs? I'll come back to you, Robin, because we're going to change those what ifs into something else. They're really fun. But back to Shane, it's like, yeah, it is scary. It's really scary to allow yourself to touch that again. And I want to acknowledge something too, that as a man, you have even more pressure around fear than I do as a woman. And I just want to acknowledge that in the room, that you have had more indoctrination into whether it was your job or not, just by being a man. There have been certain emotional pressures and taglines placed upon you to not appear weak or to not fear. And you're safe now. Wherever you're sitting right now, wherever you are right now, you're safe, and it's okay to feel those things. I know when I first started to really dive into my emotions, I needed to know that I was safe. And so literally I was sitting in the chair I'm sitting in right now, and I would look around the room and I would notice that physically I'm safe. There's nothing here that can, hurt me. And so establish that level of safety, and then just be willing to let whatever's here show up. Open yourself up to it. So Robin, I'm scared to death to start a new business, the what ifs. So there's two ways that we can use what if as a mental fun exercise. This is just if you want to, if not, throw it out the door again. So there's the what ifs of nightmares. What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if nobody likes my stuff? What if they all, call me names because my art's not good enough? What if nobody likes it? What if I invest and I don't make my money back? All those what ifs, I call those the what ifs of nightmares. The what ifs that I love, hi Jennifer, are, what if I start a new business and it changes my life? What if I start a new business and I find freedom there? And then what does a successful new business feel like in my body? And I would explore in that direction. And all the other what ifs, the what ifs of nightmares, I would just be like, thank you for sharing, and like let them fall off. What if you fail? What if you do? So what? Failing is not the worst thing in the whole world. I've just discovered that today by the decisions that I've made. And it could be a $20,000 failure. It could be. So, like, that would be awesome, Robin. So ask yourself, what if in the magical direction, the direction of dreaming instead of the direction of nightmares? Just as a fun exercise, just as a way to use your emotions, like the emotions of being elated, the emotions of being excited, the emotions of wanting to create something that is from your heart. And Robin, you're an amazing, like, I love your jewelry. Like, tap into those emotions. Tap into the emotions of, like, this could be a really cool thing. Like, it could be a really cool thing. And the other thing too for me in my business is that whatever I create, whether it's a group course or a one-to-one mentorship or a retreat, is that I'm doing it. I'm going to show up me. I'm going to show up because I can't not, and I love this work. And so if you're going to start a new business, make sure you love the work. Make sure you're doing it for you. Make sure it excites you and it lights you up. And then you really can't help but share, because you're just so excited about what you create. Then you just share. You just share it because you're so damn excited about it. I love that. Yeah, in the direction of your dreams and not the nightmares. And you can employ your emotions. Yes, you do. You share. You're excited. I love your stuff. Just keep doing it. Keep asking. Keep offering. So you can employ your emotions, the emotions of excitement and joy and curiosity, to create anything that you want. And also, it's like, check this out. This is really fun. What would it feel like in your body if you didn't care what anybody thought? I love it. I love it when, like, I ask you guys and I get the hit of that. I'm the one that just got the hit of it, of what that feels like to just not care. Like, the only validation I need is my own. My validation. And when someone else invalidates my emotional experience, my only job, a release. Yes, it's relief. It's like, oh my God, I can just do whatever I want, make what I want, do what I want, share what I want. Robin does amazing jewelry, you guys. Go check her out. I can do what I want because I love it. Because I like creating it. And I don't have to ask anybody's permission. I don't even need my own permission. Like, I can't not share what I got. It's like not possible for me. It's just me. Anybody have any other questions about fear? You're welcome, Shane. So like that was a big piece there that I gave Shane as well, about like feeling safe. About being safe. Or be afraid. It's like, fear's okay. Fear is not this evil devil that we make it out to be. It's really just calling us to be more present, to be more alive, to pay more attention, be more present. I don't know about you guys, but when I feel deeply into fear, it can also feel like excitement. And I really, really appreciate that excitement lives in the same place as fear. I appreciate that joy lives in the same place as sadness. I appreciate that gratitude lives in the same place as stinginess. Because emotions live in the body. Your emotional landscape is inside your body. So they're all living in the same place, coexisting in the same area. Breathe. I love you, Jessie. I'm glad that you're here. Jesse Raw is an amazing sound healer, in case anybody on here is looking for that. Him and Masil do really, really good work. Go check them out. For reals, yo. Do it. They're part of my self-care twice a month. So, something I could really highly recommend from all of my being and bones. Fear. So just, if you're going to explore your fear, make sure that you feel safe. Thank you, Jessie. Make sure that you feel safe. Create the environment you need to feel safe before you really let your feelings be. And that brings me to another thing about discernment of who you will share your emotional experience with. Like, you know who is safe to you, that you can go talk to about your emotions. You know who that is. And so I changed fear into presence and attention. Yeah, you did. And we do. It's like what happened to me, right? I was like, oh, there's that fear. I brought it into that, and now I'm present and I'm attentive. But you can't bypass the fear. You had to have the fear first, right? The alchemy. You can't bypass the original imprint. I mean, you can, but it feels like shit. So the truth is, you can override your fear. You can override your emotions. You can ignore them. You can suppress them. You can deny them. But it feels like crap. Like, for reals, yo. Real bad. And the emotional spectrum, and I've got to go in a second, but the emotional spectrum is all positive. Or, like, I don't believe in negative emotions. So all emotions are leading to us feeling better. Fear wants us to feel better. Sadness wants us to feel better. Overwhelm, helplessness, self-pity, doubt. It truly is that emotions are leading us back to feeling better than we do in this moment. It's like a built-in mechanism because we know that we're here to feel good. And I don't mean like feel good all the time, like you want to run down the street and rip off your clothes and be naked, although that's on the spectrum, but just that you feel solid and safe in the foundation of your being, no matter what you're feeling. So the shit can hit the fan, and life can get really intense, and circumstances can be really crappy, and yet at the core of your being, you know you're okay. Like unwavering okayness, no matter what you're feeling. That's what the emotional landscape is. That I'm here free to feel everything. And emotions have gotten such a bad rap from so many directions. Religions and patriarchy and spirituality and all kinds of places. Emotions have been like poo-pooed. But watch a child under 5. Watch a child before they learn to speak. Emotions are what we are. And we have them and we experience them long before we can speak. Oh, I'm so glad. They matter. They're amazing. They're magical. Even the ones that feel like shit. Because they are always, once felt, they will return you to a sense of feeling better. That's why, like, if you let yourself be devastated and you cry your eyeballs out and you snot all over the floor and you let that be enough so you don't go back into like the freaking out, even though that's okay, but I'm just saying, so you've had like this snotty cry and you've released it. Oh God, that feels so much better. And just release it and move on. Don't tell yourself you were pathetic for crying it's not all over the floor. Just be like, wow, that's great, I've released that. I'm ready to move forward. I don't have to hold on to that. And there's deeper stuff. I'm pretty sure probably the first breakout session I do in January, I'm going to go in depth into blame, shame, and guilt, because they're the things that we will recycle over and over and over again, and the patterns that we have to walk out the most until they stop being a function within our emotional experience. There's some serious good juju behind the concepts of blame, shame, and guilt, but we use them. There's almost no language that is absent of them. So it's fascinating. It's a fascinating adventure into those 3 things. I really look forward to it. And I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go eat dinner. Thank you guys for being here. Replay viewers, thank you too for being here. I appreciate you. I love these conversations. They light up my life. Just like you do. Thank you, guys.